This first 100 starts with a quick look inside the box of the CZ P-10C polymer framed, striker fired, Glock 19-ish. Actually, this gun is the same size and configuration as many very popular striker fired handguns, too numerous to name at this moment. This is the first 100, and starting with what it looks like in the box and what you get with it. So you can see obviously the pistol, and it has a magazine inserted in it, and there is a second magazine included. Alright, we have two alternate back straps. One that is on it, the one that's on it is small, and then we have a medium and a large available to us if we wanted to swap those out. I'm going to stand pat with the small because that feels pretty good to me. We also have a couple of small Allen wrenches if you want to do anything that needs little Allen wrenches. I don't know. You get a little rod and a cleaning brush. You get, of course, a lock, which is required by law, an owner's manual, and you get this kind of cool electronic representation of the test firing target. It shows 5 rounds. 5 rounds are the white circles, and the black circle represents the mean or the average of those, and the little plus sign is, they say, the aim point. 15 meters was where this was fired at, so I'm probably not going to be able to do quite that well. So the first 100 really is about shooting the gun, putting that first 100 or more rounds through it, and I'm going to do that momentarily out at the range for you, but I know some folks are interested in the numbers and the specifications. So I'm going to put the key numbers here up on the screen for you, and you can copy them down or take a screenshot or commit them to memory, but there will be a test at the end. Now, real quick before I forget, one of the things I wanted to know was, I looked at the magazine and I said to myself, not only is that a really pretty orange follower, but I wonder if these magazines are compatible, perhaps, with the P-07 magazine. And as good fortune would have it, yes, they are. Absolutely. Perfect fit, and you can see they are of the exact same box construction. The good news, too, is that the P-07 magazines I have are the +2. So 15 round is the magazine that comes with the P-10. 17 with the +2 is the magazine for my P-07. So when I take this bad boy to the range, I'm going to have 2 extra magazines that each hold 2 extra rounds. Okay, that's about it. I'm going to save most of my yakking for while I'm shooting, because I think those are the thoughts and comments that are most important. I will say right off the bat, the stippling is very aggressive on this gun. It it definitely leaves marks. I don't know if you can see that, but if I put a firm grip on this pistol, it definitely leaves an impression. I have already asked the good people at Talon to send me a grip for this, a rubberized, and they will be doing that. So the next time, not this time, but the next time you see this gun in a video, it will be wearing a rubber Talon grip. That I can assure you. Trigger feels nice in the dry. It's got a nice crisp break and a nice reset right there. And you're right at the wall. So it does have a very nice trigger. Now, there's been a lot of hype around this trigger. I don't know if it's going to live up to the hype. There are a lot of nice pistols out there with really good triggers, and I don't know if it can beat them all. Okay, one last thing before we get out to the range is just where this thing fits in the size bracket. I know a lot of people say it's a Glock 19 clone size-wise, but not exactly. And some people have even said more like a Glock 17, and still I say not exactly. So let me show you. Here's a Glock 17. This is a Gen 3. And here is, well, let's do it this way. And we'll line them up together in the back. The Glock 17 and the CZ P-10 and the Glock 19. And you can see it's like little stair steps. Glock 17, CZ P-10, Glock 19. So it's kind of right in between. But the barrel length is really, if you line up the barrels with the 19, very, very same. So mostly it's the size of a Glock 19. And the capacity is the same as a Glock 19. Okay, before I start shooting it, let's just take a quick tour around the gun, get familiar with the controls and what it offers. It is pretty plain and simple on the outside. There's not a lot of things to snag on, but the controls are pretty generous. If your dexterity is ambiguous, it is your lucky day with the P-10 because the magazine release and the slide stop control are ambidextrous. It has a Glock style takedown, so boom, just like that. The sights are looks like a good sight picture. It's a 3-dot sight picture. They are phosphorescent, meaning you can charge them with ambient light and they will glow for some period of time, but they're not true night sights in that they don't have tritium, so they're not going to glow into their own power. Has front and rear cocking serrations. The cocking serrations on this pistol are really nice. They grab extremely good. They're well cut into the slide, and they do grab really, really well. Excellent grip on the cocking serrations. Has a rail for mounting a light or laser, and has a good size squared off trigger guard with serrations out front. All right, so enough of that. Let's get this thing out, put 100 rounds through it, or more. See how it shoots. CZ P-10C at the range. For the first 100, these will be the very first shots. One quick correction before I forget. Talked about the P-07 magazines being compatible. Well, I was 50% right. My P-07 has 2 magazines, both are the +2 17 rounders. One will work with the P-10, one won't. The reason is that notch right there. So one has it, one doesn't. So, quick caveat on that. Also, I'm wearing a Glock 19 Kydex holster. It's a copper customs holster, and it fits this gun just about perfectly. So yes, the rumors are true. Glock 19 holsters will work perfectly with the P-10. And now, the very first shots, let's get to it. I'm shooting Remington UMC from 10 yards. Good sight picture. Just about the right thickness of the front blade too for me. It fills the rear notch pretty well, which I tend to like. The grip feels nice. It is definitely aggressive. But as of this moment, I don't really feel it biting into my skin. But it is holding really firm, which is good. Because it is a warm day. All right. That was 15. Looks like I put them all in the dot. And that's always a good thing. Can we use the slide stop as a slide release? No, I can't. All right, so that's a useless control. Still using Remington. Remington upper middle class. Trigger actually feels nice. It's not as light as a lot of people would have you believe. But it is very crisp, and it has a nice reset. Okay, this is that P-10 magazine. It's the +2. The slide release is ambidextrous, so it is equally worthless to both right and left-handed shooters as far as releasing the slide goes. So if I sped up the cadence a little bit, I started to drift off target just slightly, but yeah, so far, decent shooter. I'm starting to be able to feel that stippling a little bit more. Okay, I'm loaded back up. Moving on now to, well, I'm finishing off that last little bit of Remington. Got a bunch of Herters Select 115 grain ball and a little bit of MagTech 115 grain ball. So shooting kind of a hodgepodge of general range ammo. Still 10 yards away. I have freshened the target. She certainly likes a 6 o'clock hold at this range. The trigger pull is not super light, but it is very crisp and has a really clean break. So you really can get a surprise break with it pretty easily. The mag release is already lightening up, or loosening up, or softening up, or whatever. It was initially really tight, but boy, I tell you what, this slide stop slide release is definitely slide stop only. I talked briefly about these serrations on the slide, and they are nice. With sweaty, slippery hands, they are no problem at all. The gun is a great size, nice balance, good feel, good trigger, good sight picture. Grip is a little aggressive, but right now, as sweaty as my hands are, I kind of appreciate that. I will put a talent on it. Certainly seems accurate enough. Any rounds that aren't going right on top of each other are pretty much my fault, not the guns. She's a nice little shooter. Try some weak hand. I can always make myself look really bad shooting weak hand. Gun feels good weak-handed. Grip is great. Now if I can just quit shaking and making that front sight dance around, be in good shape. Nice, very nice. CZP-10C looks like it might be a winner. 90 rounds already, and I feel like I'm just starting to get warmed up. Okay, here's that sight picture. CZ, P-10C. I think this is a keeper. So once again, Glock 19 holster. This is a Copper Customs Kydex holster. It fits perfectly for this P-10C. It's also possible this might even be a nice little match gun for, say, IDPA. Who knows? Only problem for possibly using this as a match gun, not having that slide release. Okay, so wrapping up the first 100, and actually it is a 190 at this point in time. I've shot 190 rounds through this thing today, a lot of variation, some Remington, some MagTech, maybe some Arms Core, what else? Some Herders, so a lot of just sort of your basic garden variety. Pick it up at Walmart or Cabela's or Midway, range ammo. There's been a lot of talk about the trigger being, you know, the PPQ killer and all that. Well, I beg to differ. I may come out here with a PPQ and do a head-to-head, but it's certainly not PPQ quality, nor is it Janik quality trigger. It's not quite that light and crisp, but it is a very, very crisp trigger, and the break is not all that heavy at all. Certainly lighter than a Glock. It's not spongy like a Smith & Wesson, so, you know, just trying to give you a feel. In the near future, I'm sure I'll do some head-to-head work with this, and at that point I'll measure the trigger. I like to try and break a gun in for at least a few hundred rounds worth before I measure the trigger, because it will lighten up a little bit with those first few hundred rounds. But again, it's very much a Glock 19 sized handgun. It fits my hand really nice. It feels very comfortable. I left the small back strap on it, and that feels good for me. The grip texture is really nice on a hot, sweaty day like this, but at the same time, it is a little bit aggressive, and you know, it will leave some imprints in your hand. So I am going to put a Talon rubber grip on it as soon as that comes, and by the next time you see this gun, it will be wearing that rubber grip. The sight picture is really nice. I like it a lot. I like everything about the gun. I don't like the fact that the slide stop is not a slide release. That is nasty, nasty tight. I couldn't get it to work ever. The magazine release is, of course, ambidextrous. So if your dexterity is ambiguous, you can use either side. At first, I found it to be really, really tight out of the box. And common opinions on the internets were that it was, you know, that way for most everybody, and that it would loosen up after a few hundred. Well, I found that it loosened up quite a bit by the time I got it out here today, because I played with it a lot before bringing it out. But even during the course of the day today, it's functioning fine. Now, whether or not I've messed it up for the other side seems fine. So even for left-handers, which is an awkward motion for me, looks like it's okay. So fully ambidextrous pistol, slide stop, slide release sucks as far as the slide release goes, you know, but it locks back every time. Got this nice little textured area up here for your forward thumb. So if your thumb's forward shooter, you've got that little spot right there. If you're somebody who shoots wrong, you got some grip up here. The serrations are awesome, absolutely awesome on the front of this slide. Easy for press checks, easy for racking the slide. Sights are nice. It's a great sight picture. They are not night sights, they are phosphorescent. But they provide a nice daytime sight picture. The front blade just about fills the rear notch, which is my preference. But it gives you just a little bit of wiggle room if you want to pinpoint your accuracy. All in all, this is a really nice pistol. I definitely can understand why there's been a lot of buzz about it, but as far as the trigger goes, I'm gonna have to come back and compare it to something else to really give you, to better articulate my comparison. But it's a really nice trigger, don't get me wrong. Really nice trigger, but it's not the best. So, like I said, 190 rounds so far today. I got 10 rounds left. I'm not leaving here with 10 rounds. Let's finish it up and go home. Thanks for watching.